Hello, and welcome to the fourth video in our series of tutorials on the Notion Rentals, Sales, and Labor CRM. Today, we're going to go through all things client-focused, that is, sending quotes and invoices and handling L&D orders. Up until this point, we have been focused on what you do internally, managing your gear and orders from the comfort of your office. Now we're going to explain how to send documents to your clients using a CRM as a way to generate PDFs of quotes and invoices, and the best practices to do both. Looking at the Invoices and Quotes page from the home page, you'll be greeted with two views of the Invoices database and one for the Quotes database to see everything you need right here. This first tab will show all active invoices, which would be invoices that you have sent but have not received payment for, and the second tab will be for invoices in chronological order. The next tab shows all quotes in chronological order from the current year. If you want to see the databases themselves, they are right here on the very left side, and they're ordered similar to what we see in the main page here. Now, what do these documents look like? Let's create some quotes and invoices from our example order and find out. Going to the order, we're going to pretend we've just created the order and we just put in all the items. This is before we've given any items to the client, before we've discovered the loss and damage stuff, and before we put in labor costs from the last video. We need to show the client what we think this order will cost based on the information they gave us. How do we do that? Well, we have a button here that says New Quote. Let's press that and we will be taken to the new quote. You'll see the new quote has the name of the order, and if you wanted to, you can change the naming convention of your quotes to whatever you want, but I like to see the order name and number up top. To give you the tour, we have the quote number here, the order this quote is associated with, and a bunch of properties piping in important information from the order, so you have all the contact and pricing information right here. The big one, of course, would be the amount due, which is a big number the client is first going to see. If you were to expand the properties section, you'll see all the subtotals relevant to the client. You'll notice there are less subtotals here because the client doesn't really need to know things like how much you're subrenting for and things like that. We also have the labor estimation here, not the actual labor cost, since this document is going to be sent before you have actual time cards to bill from. That's why if you were to add up these subtotals, you would actually get a number less than the amount due shown. That difference is because the estimated labor cost was lower than what we were actually going to charge the client when we invoice them. Anyway, let's move to the body of the quote. You've got your information here, which is synced to a block in the Others database page, where a lot of the background activity lives. If you ever want to make a change to your contact information or your address, you don't have to change any templates anywhere. Just go to the Other database page and edit your information. That will ripple all throughout the workspace, and you'll see your updated information wherever this block is present. Next to that is the client information, which will have to be edited by you. Luckily, it's easy. You can click Copy to Clipboard up on the properties above and paste it right into the body. So let's do that now. Moving down, we have the shipping information, and below that are rental items, which would probably be the most important section here. There's no sorting on this or the quoting view from the order, so they should match. That means you can shift this around however you want to add sections and make your quote look good for the client. Speaking of looking good, you'll notice on the left of the rental items there is a formula property that takes either the item header or the notes property if it's a subrental item and converts it to a text. That way, you don't have to worry about filling the description with the item header text for each rental item you put in here. The workspace does it for you. That way, this looks cleaner and better for the client. If you wanted to put any notes down, that would go in the notes property, which, as I said in the orders tutorial video, is the default name property that comes with every line in a database that I can't hide, no matter how much I want to. Anyway, moving down, we have our labor section here, which shows your estimated labor database sorted by greatest to least hourly rate. Below that are the miscellaneous items with the same sorting as from the order. Now below that is the subtotal section and payment methods if you want to put that here. You can add your own payment methods if you wish, just make sure to edit the template in the quotes database. As for the subtotals, you can use the subtotals from the properties of this page to copy and paste them here. Now that we've added all the information necessary to make this quote look decent, it's time to send this to the client. You could use a third-party software to make custom PDFs, but if you were just to use Notion, this is how I would recommend doing it. You're going to click the three buttons in the top right, click Export, and match these settings. I personally use the legal page format because it's taller than anything else, keeping things all on one page if you've got kind of a small quote like this one. As for scale percent, I found 85 works pretty well. We're going to click Export and choose where the zip folder will be. Once we open that, we'll extract it and only focus on the PDF, leaving alone the Excel files that Notion gives you. We've got no use for those. Let's go into the PDF itself to see what it looks like. So, Notion doesn't do a great job with exporting PDFs, admittedly. It's one of the weaknesses I've worked fairly hard to overcome. Some of those things being the seemingly unnecessary properties, like the description property that rolls up all the information for rental items and things like that. But there's a reason for every property, and this is why the items build database has 50 properties. Anyway, if all looks good, you can file away your PDF in whatever way you want and send it off to the client after naming it in whatever naming convention tickles your fancy. So, that is what quotes look like. Let's move on to invoices. Going back to the orders page, we're now at the stage where we know more or less what the total the client will be paying for. We have our damaged and missing items, our labor and mileage, which we're going to say wasn't 60 but was, let's say, 70. We are now ready to hit the invoice button. This should only be done when all the gear is back in your possession or when you have confirmed that a missing item is now lost. The reason is because this would change the status of the order from approved and active to invoiced, which would normally mean this order should not be changed, as any further changes might change pricing of things. Once things have been invoiced and sent to the client, the PDF should exactly match the Notion page so there's no confusion. Let's actually press it and give the tour. Starting with the name, of course, the order name auto-populates, but you're more than welcome to change this however you see fit. Here you'll see some groups to help organize the properties shown. First is the invoice section. We have, shockingly, everything here relating to the invoice itself. Right up at the top, we have the invoice number and the amount due. For whatever reason you need to change the amount invoiced to the client, you have the ability here. Just add your number to the custom amount property. This is here in case you want to charge for, let's say, the rental items first, but not labor, since labor can change more than the rental items. Or whatever situation you find yourself in, you can change the total of the invoice, should you choose. Moving down through the properties, you have the account, then the terms and payment. I default to due upon receipt, but should the client demand net 30 or above, you can put that here. We also have a due before/during pickup option if you want payment before the gear is sent out. This could work in conjunction with billing for rental items, but not labor. You might want all rental items paid for before/during pickup, but you might be okay with net 30 for all labor costs. Whichever way you swing, you can make it happen. Then you have the status of the invoice, payment method, so you can track how this was paid. Below that we have a PO/reference number. Next we have the button marked as sent. This will change the status of the invoice, fill the invoice date property to notify when the invoice was sent to the client, and will dictate the due date and past due properties. The due date will take the invoice date property and add however many days it needs to based on the previously set terms. Then we have the mark as paid button. This fills the date paid property and will tell you either paid on time or it will tell you how many days the client was late in paying for this invoice. For example, let's say we have our terms as due upon receipt and we send the invoice today. The CRM will give the client 2 weeks, or specifically 14 days, to make your payment. You'll see the due date is 14 days from when I made this video. However, if the invoice was sent 15 days ago, you'll see the past due tell you it is 1 day late. Once we click Mark as Paid, it will lock in that 1 day late notation and will stay there for reference later. But if everything was paid on time, as if we sent this video today and got paid before the due date, it will just return paid on time. This property will show up all across the home page and the order page so you know what the status of this invoice is. If we go back to the home page and check out the Invoices tab for this month, we'll see that this invoice is done and that it is paid on time. Going back to the invoice, let's continue the tour. Moving to the order info section, you've got the order here, like always, the dates of the order for reference, the contact information, and some admin properties. Below that, we have all the subtotals that we will use to help fill out the body of the invoice. Okay. Let's move to the body of the page. I've made some helpful checklist items here so you can remember to fill out the customer info and subtotals like we did in the quotes. Moving throughout the body, we have a similar layout from the quotes, including that synced block with your name and contact information, except the schedule is absent since at this point in the order process, we just care about the billing info. So in labor, we have a view of the time cards database showing just the labor header lines of the timesheets and not the individual days. I do this because when you export the page as a PDF, the sorting gets all mixed up and wrong. It's one of the drawbacks of exporting in Notion, unfortunately, so I've done my best to summarize everything in one line for the client to look at. And finally, we have the miscellaneous items, payment methods, and subtotal section right at the bottom. From here, it's the same process to send this to the client as with the quotes from earlier. You're going to want to copy and paste all the subtotals into the body of the page from the property section and export this page with the legal page format with an 85 scale %. Then extract it from the zip, rename it, and send it off. Okay. Now that we have gone through everything we need to for this order, we can go back to the order and press Complete Reservation button. This will change the status from the order to complete and check off all the to-do list items that have been created for this order. If you have any loose ends in your to-do list that is for this order, be sure to avoid clicking this button as it will complete everything shown here in the list below. We didn't go through these and check off the tasks as we did them, as we were a little busy going through every corner of the database, but rest assured, in this example, we crossed our T's and dotted our I's. Now, before we press this button, remember that we have lost and damaged items to bill for, so we need to bill for that. That process is easy and won't take very long. We're going to press the Make L&D button and we'll see a new order pop up. This is the L&D template for the orders database. It's different than the standard order template because it isn't considered income, just reimbursement for damages for the most part. Scrolling through the properties, everything is mostly the same except for the project type, which is now L&D, and the accounts and contacts from the main order earlier are copied over. We will also see the order this L&D is coming from, which is the Christmas party. Now, we'll choose the dates for this order, which we'll just say is the date that we might invoice the client. Our days and week and billing day properties are irrelevant since we're not really going to be using the items build database to bill for this order. We're just going to use the L&D build database, which will have a linked view down in the body. That's a new database that just helps you bill for damages. And of course, we need to rename this order. Let's call it Christmas Party L&D to make things easy. Moving down to the body, you may be surprised to see a lack of things compared to what was in the other order template. Basically, this template of the orders database gives you the freedom to charge whatever you want for anything you want. I really can't predict how you'll bill for L&D, so I've tried to create a whole system that's a bit more flexible. For our purposes here, we need to bill for the damaged stand, the totally destroyed stand, and the missing string lights. I know in the warehouse, we pretended like they came back, but if they didn't, I'd like to show you how I would bill for them. The L&D build database seen here is connected to the items build database. I'd recommend connecting each line you bill for in this database to the corresponding line in the items build database. For example, if we're going to add a line that says damaged stand repair, in reference to the damaged stand we fixed from video 2 from this series, we're going to then go to the items build relation on this database and search for that specific line. I've tried to make it easy by showing you the orders and damage logs in the search box that shows up here, but it might be more helpful to go back into the damaged stand line that you're trying to reference and rename it so it's much easier to find once you click the relation property. Anyway, once we make that connection, you'll see the status from that line appear on the left for reference. We only had one stand here, so we'll make quantity 1, and we know it costs $200 since we can easily reference our damage log up in the property section, and we'll make that our unit price. Also, if we go into that repaired stand line, we'll see all the information rolled up here, including the total cost of all damage logs that this is referencing. You'll notice that this is $700 because while we know the repaired stand costs $200, the one we're replacing costs us $500. We know that it costs that much because of what we purchased it for in a previous PO, and we'll reference that in a minute. It would be best to make sure we're recouping our losses, so we're going to go back out of this page into our L&D order, make a new line, call it replacement stand, make the quantity 1, and unit price $500. Okay, now the lost string light. Let's look back at our previous POs to see what the cost of the string lights were. Looking at the PO titled Lights and Miscellaneous from Vendor 1, we see that the stand did indeed cost $500 each, and the string lights cost $250 each. They must be crazy long string lights. Let's go back to our L&D order, add a line, and call it replacement string lights. Our quantity is still 1, and we know the unit price is $250. Okay, this is our completed L&D order. The total is $950, and going back to the properties here, we can see that the gross income is the same, but the net is $250. This is because the CRM knows you've already spent or are committed to spending $700 in damages from the damage logs we made earlier. It's subtracting that from our gross. If we wanted to replace the string lights by making a new PO, we could also do that from the body of the page using the button here. This would add the cost of the purchase order to the amount to pay others and would lower your net income. We might as well speed through that, but this time, let's say the vendor likes us and added a 20% discount since we're such a great customer. Alright, you'll see we are now making a measly $50 in this order, but since we're recouping losses gained from the client, that's not too bad. Now on to invoicing. Same process as before, you'll press the Generate Invoice button on the left side, and we'll make a new invoice, just like earlier. We're going to add the customer information and subtotals like last time, and delete the to-do list items. Now, everything's mostly the same, except you might notice this shipping subtotal. We didn't add shipping to this order since the shipping is baked into the unit price of all these items, but if we were to itemize the shipping, it would appear in the subtotals just like normal. So after filling in all the information like last time, we will click Mark as Sent, Export, and email off the PDF just like before. And just like that, we're done. Let's say they're totally understanding and pay on time, which would be a blessing. Let's click the Mark as Paid button. And at this point, we've done everything we can. So we're going to press the Complete Reservation button, both in the L&D order and in the main Christmas party order. You'll see those to-do list items are all checked, and the status is now done. Another detail, if you go into the account associated with the order, you see it now has a gross and net income information to look at. As you do more work with this account, you'll see those numbers grow and change. Hopefully, profit margin increases as your relationship grows. Well, at this point, we can go back to our home page and we see that the two orders are in the Done category. And with that, the majority of the CRM has been covered. We have to do one more video that will go over the to-do list database in some detail and the rest of the databases that work in the background and make things happen, but aside from that, that's basically it. Thank you so much for sticking with me this whole time. Please click the link in the description to see the CRM for yourself, and make sure to watch the final video in the series. Take care everyone, and have a good one.